Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to another Gunners Town podcast. I'm Gavin. I'm joined in reverse alphabetical order by my good friend from South Africa. How you doing, Paul?
I'm very good. How are you guys doing?
Good, thank you very much. And I'm also joined by my other good friend, who's probably about 8,000 miles away from Paul in America. How you doing, Mike?
I can't do an American accent quite as beautifully as you, but I'm doing all right to answer your question.
Just don't try a Cockney accent, mate. Do you know what I mean? We're all being bitched then. Right, what we're going to do, we're going to talk about the upcoming game against the West Ham. Now, it's as sad as it is to say, and as much as I am, my heart and my soul belongs in Market Road and Caledonian Road. I was brought up and went to school in a West Ham area, so half my mates, basically the mates I've got who don't support Arsenal, were season ticket holders over West Ham. So this one really bites me, and it's bit me on the arse a good few times over the years. Starting with the 1980 FA Cup final, which is the first FA Cup final I remember as a child, and yeah, so you can imagine. So I love turning them over. Now, Paul, they're a club in turmoil at the moment, West Ham, and I've been winding them right up. Do you know what I mean? They want to sell to anybody who wants to buy. The owners don't want to buy, don't want to sell. The manager don't want to be there. Karen Brady, the gooner herself, he's just there for the money as well. We're going to turn them over, aren't we?
I reckon. I mean, yeah, has David Moyes ever won away against Arsenal with any of the clubs that he's ever been in? I'm not sure that he has. I think this could be it could be a high scoring game if we can figure out how to get past the bus that they're probably going to park. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree with you. The momentum with Arsenal was big going into the season, bigger after Fulham. It's about as high as it's been in forever after Aubameyang signing. So the momentum's with us, and the opposite is true of West Ham. And I'm not trying to just dig at them, but that's what. So you talk to the West Ham boys. I actually listen to the West Ham podcast every once in a while. I don't know, I feel for them because they've been going through it for so many years, and they are really down after the game the other day. The fact that their most promising young player, Dean Garner, got sold. I know that Mark Noble and then followed by the rest of the players came out and talked about that on social media, which was a really big deal. And then there's the cloud hovering over Declan Rice, whether Chelsea are going to bid for him and whether West Ham will probably do what the fans are scared they'll do, which is sell him. And I think that the coach, as Gav said, may not want to be there. There's trouble in the board. So as long as Arsenal can deal with the deep block, and I think we're going to get into that here in just a minute, if we can deal with the deep block better than we have last season, which wasn't good, then we'll be fine. And, I'm confident because Arteta's done so well recently, and we've had 5 days of practice. When was the last time we had 5 days? Unless I'm wrong, there's a full 5-day period between these games, isn't there? I'm not sure when the last one is.
I don't think there's been one, to be fair. I don't think there's been one since Arteta's been with the club, really. We're going on what we've done against Fulham, and I know that it's an away game, and I'll bounce this back to Mike straight away on this one. We played the same way against Fulham as we did against Chelsea and Man City and Liverpool, etc. So part of me is expecting us to play exactly the same formation as we are. What I think is going to happen is he's going to actually have different players in different positions in that same formation to make it more fluid and more attacking. Is that the way you see it, or do you think we're literally going to look at the same starting 11?
Well, I feel it could go one or two ways. I would swing towards your thought, Gav, that we're going to look at a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-2-1-3 with Willian moving inside to play as an attacking midfielder, which Arteta's been talking about, rather than just a right winger who moves inside. I know, Gav, you feel also that Pepe is likely to play. I can see that happening. So it would look like Aubameyang left, Lacazette middle, Pepe right, Willian behind, with, let's say, El Neni or Ceballos and Xhaka in midfield. I could see that 4-2-3-1. The issue that I have as a coach looking at that situation is you've got Pepe and his inclination to come inside. Not saying that that won't work because he's got wonderful crossing ability to the back post, but the simplest way of beating a deep block is two ways. One is you go around the outside. And I'm talking about the outside, and Willian as a right-footed right winger, and we saw it against Fulham, his inclination when he takes a man one-on-one is to go on the outside of him. And when you go on the outside of a deep block and then cut inside, you've gone and beaten the whole block with one player. And then the second way to do that is by shooting from distance so that you don't actually try to go through the block. And, of course, we saw against Villa last year, Arsenal were being belligerent and were just swinging it side to side, but there was no penetration. So I could see that 4-2-3-1 with Willian in the middle to try and be creative there. Willian on the right, I could see that as to go round the outside. Or you could play... keep the same formation, but then go around the outside with the fullbacks, because we saw that against Fulham. Tierney, Maitland-Niles and Bellerin going hard as well, around the outside or even in the inside to make that extra man to get beyond that block. I know that's a lot of information, but handing it over to Paul.
Yeah, no, Paul, I mean, before you start, Paul, I mean, against Fulham, we was predominantly the fullbacks, wing-backs, whatever you want to call them, were almost coming inverted and coming in to help sort of stock up the middle of the pitch. Do you think we're going to actually do the reverse of that and actually have them having the chalk on their boots?
I think Arteta would always explore ways of drawing players out of that kind of deep block. And you've kind of seen him do it. And I think I read somewhere right near the beginning is that this is one of the things that they did at Manchester City and the fear of playing out the back was kind of made this seem even kind of more dangerous, is that he doesn't want the player to pass until he's taken another player from the opposing team out of the game.
Yeah.
Right. So that means you got to wait till the guy's actually committed and it's almost about to get you, and then you pass. You can't let them hover and guard like shepherd two of you at the same time. Now, it's interesting that because you see it happening all the way through the pitch. Like people, you go like pass the ball, but they seem to delay it until they've got that guy sucked in. Now I'm wondering, we haven't really had the opportunity to see him doing that where we've camped on the outside of the box and we've got to try and draw these defenders, out. One of the ways, like Mike says, is to play it round, but then you end up with that bucket, the pendulum swinging it round, unless you've got players that can go to the byline and get and make a great cross, like a Tierney or Saka style cross from the left with the left foot, or what Willian would be able to do from the right. Pepe wouldn't do that. He'd obviously want to cut back and do a left diagonal lob to the opposite, to the far post or something. So it would be interesting to see, if he sticks with Willian on the right or whether he brings Pepe in for his creativity. I think if those two can get a good relationship going, funnily enough, I think that would create a lot of options because they both know what it's like to play on the wing. And Willian could either go around.
They could even dovetail, couldn't they?
That's what I'm saying.
They could even swap mid-game. I think Willian he's possibly one of the players that we've got in our squad at the moment that's actually got a bit of smarts about him with regards to the tactics and formations. He's old enough, he's mature enough. I think he would know actually when to swap mid-game even without being prompted. My issue, Mike, is even against Fulham, first half we had 51.5% to their 48.5%, and I think the whole game finished that we ended up with 55% of the game. But a lot of that was possibly the last 15, 20 minutes when Fulham just knew the game was up. How are we going to approach it against West Ham if West Ham don't do a high press? If West Ham say, okay, you have the ball in your half, you're not going to have the ball in our half. We're going to push you from the halfway line, which may give us a very, very high percentage of possession. But it's just that whether or not how we can actually get past literally a half the pitch 5-4-1 sort of formation. That's what will bother me. And if West Ham have got any sense, that's what they would do.
Yeah, but I'm somewhat unconcerned about that because it's West Ham, because it's David Moyes. I don't see David Moyes as a particularly tactical coach, and so if they're in turmoil as well, to play, I'm trying to step out, Gav. I'm trying to step out of being an Arsenal fan when I say this, but I would imagine playing Arsenal right now is a little bit of a nightmare because you've got these players coming from all kinds of different angles and positions that all the other teams that are trying to play football in a similar way are not doing. Arsenal providing more problems. The Ainsley Maitland-Niles situation on the left that Paul talks about a lot, he's outside, then he's inside, and then he's underlapping, he's overlapping. Now he's in central midfield. I don't know that West Ham have the ability to cope with what Arsenal are about to do to them because of the issues that they've got at the club with each other. I'd also say if it were me, and I hope that Arteta does this because this is something he's not done yet, is if you're going to play against a so-called weaker team and the game is 95 minutes long, let's say, to me, the mentality should be, okay, if we want them to come out and get out of that deep block because it's not easy for us, well, it's simple. The first 15 minutes of the game, you go hard, you pour forward, and you try to nick a goal early because after a goal is scored, forget about that deep block. They can do it all they want, but they're not trying to save their goal difference at the time. They've got to try and equalise or get back in the game, and then there's going to be gaps. So you try to bring them out by scoring first. To me, and Arteta's Arsenal have really yet to do that. A little bit slow starting at home in particular. So that's what I would do. And then the mentality there, sorry to keep rambling on, but last thing, the mentality there is if West Ham break on us early, whilst we're trying to go hard and push numbers forward on them, if they do that and they score, it's fine. We got 80, 75 minutes to come back, and Arsenal are more than capable of getting the goals that they need against West Ham at home, given 75, 80 minutes.
Well, I mean, if anything, like I say, I agree with you. I mean, we've got to go hard. We've got to go hard in the first 10, 15 to try and score the first goal. I think West Ham will completely fall apart if we get an early goal. And again, I agree with you. The fact that if they score first, I think that might even be to a little bit of our benefit, as in a strangely perverse way, that they might completely try and sit back. And we've seen it before, Paul, haven't we? You play against a team that scored the first goal away from home, they sit back, and when we equalise, they don't actually know how to come forwards because they're sort of ingrained to sort of be sitting back. So, I mean, obviously, we want the first goal, though, don't we?
From our point of view, if you are sitting on the team that doesn't have a lot of creativity, and a lot of impetus to seizing the goal, if they're just trying to catch us on the break or whatever, once you've got that first goal and you've kind of like Mike says, you've got the points in the bag, there's the onus is on them to try and rescue something from the game, and when that happens and they feel a bit of pressure, that pressure sometimes can crack their own formation and structure. They crack under their own pressure instead of us trying to crack them under our pressure, which I think is something that can work to our advantage if we score. But I just have an interesting thing for you guys because you're more tactical than I am. But in a situation where there's a low block, are you looking for somebody like what Saka has to offer, which is that ability to take on from the left if he's wide and he's swinging it wide, and if you draw like their outer back, like their wing backs into that position, and Saka beats him easily in a one-on-one and then sucks the centre back in, it kind of creates more of an opening behind that for whoever's there in the middle. And I mean, somebody like Aubameyang or like Lacazette, they don't need a lot of touches. They're like a two-touch shoot or one-touch shoot kind of people. Do you think there's something to be said for playing somebody like Saka on the left with his take on abilities rather than like Tierney, who's more of a traditional?
Yeah, I think you make a really good point. One I've not thought of anyway, which is if you're going to if you're going to do that, and let's say call it 4-2-3-1, I think what you're saying is play Saka at left back, left wing back, whatever. And I think it makes a really good point. Tierney's good at beating his fullback, and he's good at crossing, very good actually. But Saka has a much higher level of offensive capabilities, and that's a really good point. We might see that. We might see Saka play left back, left wing back, and utilise that on the left. My concern with him on the right is again cutting inside, but he's a little quicker to beat his man than Pepe. I'm thinking to process all that we've talked about, and some of it's starting to make sense, and some of it's not. My biggest issue with Pepe is Pepe takes too long to beat his man. And if you're going to swing the ball across the field, the purpose is to have their block not able to move across quick enough to where you get the ball and you only have one man to beat. Well, that's Pepe's biggest weakness, is he takes too long to beat his man, so he draws a crowd. So as I'm processing this, I'm wondering if if there's a place for Pepe on Saturday. But again, Arteta's improving players. He's had 5 days. Who knows?
There's another thing. Sorry, Gav. Just while sorry, I'm just going to interrupt. But talking about Pepe again, if you've got that right wing and you're playing against that low block, one of the most effective ways to actually get a goal through it is somebody who can put that ball and bisect those two banks of four in front of you. That's going towards the touch line, and you've got a right wing or wing back, whatever, that cuts in and either does a cutback or takes a shot with a right foot at goal. If you've got Pepe in that situation running onto a ball that's been pushed through behind, like we've seen Bellerin do, or like other right-footed players on the right, I don't see how he does that. I could see Willian doing it, but it kind of, I don't think that pushing the ball through to the right-hand side is something that would really suit Pepe. His shot, accuracy seems to be better when he fakes the right and then cuts in on the left and then does one of those curling, looping left-footed shots like we saw at Wembley, that it's allowed goal. Does that also affect it? I mean, it's going to be effective in that situation.
I agree with you there. We want to see him doing more of that and more of what Aubameyang does when he cuts in from the left. We want to see Pepe doing the same sort of thing from the right, which would actually be ideal. My main one really is, and like I say, a bit of my concern is going to be what the lineup is in the midfield. And if we are playing a midfield three, I would certainly like to see possibly Ceballos, maybe even Willock. Because I think at some point what someone's going to actually have to do in the middle of the park is get control of the ball, turn, and run at them to try and sort of draw people in, and then to push the ball wide. So I think the ball at the moment we prefer is just literally inside the the opposition half. But I think if West Ham do sit back against us, which like I said, I think they'd be mental if they don't. I think we're going to need somebody who can actually get the ball, beat the man in the middle of the park, and sort of push forwards, Mike. So is it going to be a case of Ceballos in for El Neni, do you reckon?
I don't think that, only because El Neni's been very good last 2 games.
But he has been good.
Yeah, and so now, unless Arteta wants to look at it from a rotational thought, that he thinks El Neni's been very good, but he wishes he could play Ceballos because he's been very good in practice and what have you. So it could be that. I like your idea of the thought with Willock, the third midfielder. I think it's more likely, I know we're moving this guy all around the field now, but it's more likely to be Willian as the third midfielder. He can also do that, but he has more final product, which is Joe Willock's biggest struggle. He gets the ball, he penetrates on the dribble, he drags somebody towards him, as Gav just said, but then I don't see that final product from him when he's in that position.
Paul, if we get, like I say, we're going to presume that Arteta is going to sort of more or less stick to a similar formation, and we're going to end up with either a 2-man or a 3-man midfield. Who are you going for? Who do you think he's going to give the numbers to?
I think against a team like West Ham, if they are going to sit back, or if it, just fill in for West Ham, any of those other clubs that are more, like more likely to kind of try and get us on the break. I don't see the use of having a Xhaka and an El Neni. I think Xhaka can, in situations where you don't need that double guard, I think Xhaka can kind of cover that role. He can be the defensive guy who slots back in if one of the backs pushes up forward wide. He drop back into the left, and he can dictate the pace if he's got somebody like Ceballos playing off of him. I think they can be more effective. I'm just curious to see, because once again, like last season, we struggled with creativity in scoring in those kind of games, like Aston Villa last season. So I think that we do need the creativity of somebody, if it's Willian or, we do need, a playmaker helping those front three and creating those overloads and overlaps and breaking, making those passes. I don't see El Neni and Xhaka starting together.
I have no thought here, Paul, Gab. This one just dawned on me. We've got this hybrid coach, hybrid team. Formations change, as Gav alludes to. Positions change, formations change. It all changes. It changes during the game. How about this? So I would imagine that most of this week he's probably been working on how to beat the deep block, anticipating West Ham do that, but knowing that West Ham might not do that. So what if his team selection is based on players who are more hybrid ready, so that, let's say we start 4-2-3-1 and he's anticipating the deep block. West Ham don't do that. They high press, they come out. So we could go 3-4-3 like we did against Fulham or what have you. But you need the players on the field who can do both.
So,
who would choose them?
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, so like I say, we'll go from, obviously, Leno's is a dead cert, isn't he? So you're going to have like I say, and it's hard to do it in formations here, but I mean, from what we're saying here, we're probably saying that KT's going to start up left centre back or left back, wherever he is. The centre backs, unless Luiz has recovered, he's probably going to be the same, and you'd expect Bellerin to go on the right as well. So we're probably going to expect a similar sort of back five or back 3-1 or whatever we had to the last one. So when it comes to the midfield, whereas the last time it was Xhaka, El Neni, and Maitland-Niles, we're expecting a change in that free scenario. We're expecting probably only Xhaka maybe, and Maitland-Niles maybe. So
I think
only probably one or two out of them three are going to start the next game.
I think Xhaka is one of the first names on his list. So
I mean, it might be the fact that Maitland-Niles and Nini go, and maybe we'll be looking more of Ceballos and maybe even Willian in the middle for them three. And then when we're looking at the front three as a traditional, if we're going to do a 4-3-3, we're looking at Aubameyang, Lacazette, and Pepe. Is that where you think that? I mean, I think there's a lot of flexibility if we did that, Mike.
Yeah, you do have that. I really liked what I think, as Paul said earlier, with Saka. I think that makes all kinds of sense to have Saka as the left back, because I think we're going to be attacking significantly more than we're going to be defending. Of course, he's good at defending as well, and I think he's better in the final third. I think that we may see that. I'd not thought of that one myself, and I would go with Xhaka, and I'm okay with Ceballos or El Neni. And I do like the idea of, I would play Maitland-Niles on the right and not play Bellerin, because I think Maitland-Niles has got more energy, he's got more power. I think he's better in the final third than Bellerin. So I'd play Maitland-Niles on the right and Saka on the left and ask them to overlap. You've got that 3-1 with Willian, Pepe, Aubameyang and Lacazette.
That's a pretty good lineup. So tell me something from a tactic point of view. To help me understand it. So if you when we start with three at the back, which is really ostensibly kind of 5 at the back, so it's 3 centre backs with 2 wing backs that can tend to push up. Is that what creates the overload? Correct me if I'm wrong. So you'd have, 5-3-5-2-3 or whatever it is that how it would be laid out. So, and then when you're in attack, those 2 pushing up with the 2 centre kind of creates like a 3-4-3. So that overloads the midfield and gives a little bit more creative. Why do you not start off as a 3-4-3 and have just 3 centre backs and 4 midfielders and 3 up front?
It's just basically what they're trying to do at the moment, from my understanding, which albeit he's not as educated as young Michael over theirs. It's simply the fact that if the ball's on the left side of the pitch, then everybody moves across, and who would be, for example, the right back would literally move across. Who would be sort of like the right wing back would move across into right back, and who would be the left-sided centre back would move across to be the left back. So you're almost sort of like just shifting across the pitch to sort of fill the gaps, and that's a sort of hybrid, complete voodoo that Arteta is doing at the moment. So I think, like I say, I mean, I personally think he's going to literally set up exactly the same, but have different bodies in the different positions on the pitch. And I disagree with Mike with regards to Xhaka. I think that the bench that we're going to have against West Ham is going to be pretty explosive with regards to Reece Nelson, Xhaka, Willock. And I think literally if it's going to come down to it for the last 10, 15 minutes, if you were drawing away to Arsenal and suddenly you got Xhaka, Willock and Reece Nelson, 2 of them 3 coming on, I think that's going to be enough explosive pace, especially at the beginning of the season, to ruin anybody if we needed a goal later on. So that's my thoughts on that, Mike, really.
Yeah, well, I tell you, like, none of this is wrong, is it? These are all opinions, and they're all good. We're doing well, and I think whatever Arsenal do, I think we'll be fine. I tell you something that dawned on me, Gav, whilst you were talking there. Another little twist on this. So check this one out. So,
oh God,
sorry.
Let me sit down before you start doing this one. Go on.
Right, this is. Sorry, my head works. All right, so we were talking about Arsenal's got 5 days to practice for whatever they're going to do. Okay, so's West Ham. West Ham have seen us for the last, not just Fulham, but all the previous games for the most part, play 3-4-3, either as a deep block or a high press. Okay, so they have to prepare for us, and they're probably more concerned about preparing for us defensively than what they're going to do offensively. So they waste 5 days getting ready for a 3-4-3 with Maitland-Niles doing his inside-outside thing and inverted fullbacks and the whole thing. And then Arsenal don't do that. Arsenal play 4-2-3-1 or whatever, but something completely different. And West Ham have gone and screwed themselves because Arsenal have gone and thrown something that they have not prepared for. So I think that's a big part of the coaching, tactical coaching piece that the professional.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there on Mike, and I do, like I say, I do like the mental games that like I say, that could be played on that one. But I just think that Arteta wants to get one formation straight and happy, and if we can beat Liverpool playing that formation, and if we can beat Fulham 3-0 away doing that formation,
right,
it's fucking West Ham. Do you know what I mean?
I know.
Why would he want to sort of like mix? I don't think he needs to mix it up, to be fair. I just think he might need different personnel in different slots. More attack-minded players in there. But I don't think he needs to like switch it up a different formation.
Well, are you boys not anticipating that Arteta's got 2 formations for the season?
No, I am. I see. I'm with you, Mike. I'm imagining 4 at the back. Okay. With Saka in front of Tierney and Aubameyang in front of him. And I'm just imagining what would happen if you then have that rotation that you're talking about, where you've got Maitland-Niles on the right-hand side in the midfield, or on the right of the 4, with Holding and I think Louise is still injured, but Holding and Gabriel in the centre, and ahead of them, Willian and Pepe, and Ceballos and Xhaka in the middle, and is that too many people? It sounds like it, but that gives you options. It gives you a lot of options.
Yeah, no, like I say, I'm like I say, I'm going to disagree with the both of you. And like I say, we will revisit this on WhatsApp Sunday evening. Don't you worry, boys. Right? but I like I say, I think that he's going to actually stick to exactly the same formations. He's going to change personnel in a couple of key spots. But I think he's just going to play the same way, because I don't think. Jesus, Klopp couldn't work it out. All right, bloody Thingy couldn't work it out either. Fat Frank couldn't work it out. God bless him, right? And he's a West Ham supporter anyway, Fat Frank, right? And even his old governor at Man City couldn't work it out. So what the hell is David fucking Moyles gonna fucking do? Do you know what I mean? I just don't get it. So I'm going to disagree with you, boys. And like I say, I think we're just going to play exactly the same way as we're playing, right? If West Ham drop off deep, then all we're going to do is we're going to go up forwards. My only worry about West Ham dropping deep, and if West Ham do a very, very deep, you have the ball in your half, but you're not getting through us kind of scenario. My only worry about that is if we've got Holding at centre back and we lose it, bang, ball over the top. That's what I think David Moyes is going to go for. So, like I say, that's my worry is the ball over the top with. Obviously, we know that we know the new Brazilian boy's got pace to burn, but that's my worry. The fact that West Ham are just going to sort of sit back at the halfway line, get the ball, and hoof it. I think that's honestly going to be their best plan.
Yeah. So you reckon they'll play like a 1-9-1 formation?
Basically, yeah. I think West Ham are going to play literally a 5-4-1. Do you know what I mean?
They've got the big monster up front, Haller, haven't they? They probably will do that. So yeah, there's another thought that Arsenal could sign Thomas Partey, Aouar, Solomon Kalou, Yanam Villa, all these people that we've been linked with over the last 20 years, and they could all start, and we could play seven up front, and rely on our new Brazilian centre back to take care of business at the back.
Why do we even need a keeper, right? We don't even need a keeper. We just play like a 2-1-8.
Oh, don't. Right. Let's cut this here, boys. Right. We will talk. Mike, Paul, we will talk during the game, and we will talk at half time, and we will see where this is going. But yeah, let's put it in the can. Another Gunners Town podcast. Up the Arsenal.
Up the Arsenal.